Time now for the business news with Stephen Carroll. Good to see you, Stephen.
Hi, Delano.
You're starting out with the latest on a cyber attack on a meat processing plant, JBS.
That's right. This is JBS, the company now revealing that it paid a ransom of $11 million to cyber attackers who had disrupted their North American and Australian operations last week. The company had been forced to stop work at its US plants for a day, a move which threatened to disrupt meat supplies across the country. JBS produces nearly a quarter of America's beef. In a statement, the CEO of the company's American operations says paying the ransom was a very difficult decision. Now, I've been speaking to Adam Myers from the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike about this recent wave of ransomware attacks. He says that hackers are choosing companies based on how likely they are to pay up.
They seem to go after organizations that have to be up and running. And when they have downtime, the decision to pay the ransom or not becomes much more critical. So in other words, manufacturing, industrials, energy, healthcare, organizations that will have negative impact if they are offline. And, you know, with manufacturing, every second you're offline can be measured in dollars and cents. And so, you know, those organizations are looking at that clock effectively. And when the amount of money they're losing is greater than the ransom demand, it becomes a no-brainer to pay it.
Now, Stephen, the Keystone XL pipeline linking Western Canada to Nebraska has been definitively scrapped.
Now, US President Joe Biden had revoked the permit to build the oil link when he took office in January. Now, the government of Alberta province in Canada and the developer TC Energy have cancelled a $9 billion project for good. It's a victory for environmental groups who've waged a long campaign against the pipeline. James Vecina has the story.
13 years after the controversial project was first announced, the plug has been officially pulled. The Keystone XL pipeline was designed to carry over 800,000 barrels of Canadian oil to Nebraska in the United States every day, an expansion of the existing Keystone network that extends all the way to the Texas Gulf Coast. Since the start, the project has been widely opposed by environmental groups and Native American tribes, whose land it would have crossed. Blocked by Barack Obama when he was president,
the State Department has decided that the Keystone XL pipeline would not serve the national interests of the United States.
Reinstated by Donald Trump,
I am pleased to announce the official approval of the presidential permit for the Keystone XL pipeline.
Joe Biden cancelled the key permit for the project on his very first day in office, putting a halt to the almost 2,000-kilometre-long pipeline. For the oil industry, the scrapping of the $9 billion project means missing out on an opportunity to capitalise on Canada's oil reserves, the third largest in the world. The industry says it would have provided tens of thousands of jobs in both Canada and the United States. But falling oil prices have reduced the potential gains. Environmental campaigners welcomed the news, saying they'll continue to oppose the construction of other pipelines.
Meanwhile, the oil company Shell has promised to speed up plans to cut carbon emissions after it lost a court battle in the Netherlands last month. CEO Ben van Beurden says that Shell will accelerate its strategy to cut emissions after the court ruling, although it didn't give any details as to how. The company's current target is a 45% reduction in emissions by 2035. The landmark decision by the court in The Hague had ordered Shell to move that target earlier to 2030.
Now, Stephen, here in France, insurance giant AXA is offering a settlement to restaurants which were shut down during the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is an effort to resolve a legal battle between the company and some 15,000 restaurateurs who'd said the company was reneging on its insurance policies. AXA is offering a package worth €300 million to those who held a policy that was covering unexpected losses of revenue. Representatives for the restaurant sector, though, fear the amount of compensation may be too low.
An offer that the insurance giant AXA hopes will bring an end to months of legal battles. The company's putting on the table a package worth €300 million for some 15,000 restaurant owners in France, having held insurance policies that were meant to cover their losses if they were forced to close. But AXA had until now refused to pay out, arguing the contract didn't apply in the case of a pandemic leading to hundreds of owners taking legal action, many of them successfully.
We're still waiting to receive the check from the lawsuit, but it's very good news we're hearing today. Finally, they're admitting that the clients are right.
The payment offered will cover 50% of losses during a period where restaurants were forced to close. It's expected to average around €20,000 per business.
We saw that the courts handed different rulings. We want to put this behind us. We're giving out €300 million to the 15,000 restaurant owners who are signed up with us so that we can help with the industry's revival.
AXA says it can start making payments by the end of the month. Groups representing restaurant owners say they're waiting for details of the package, but that for many businesses, the amount offered is insufficient.
Let's take a quick look at what's happening on the markets next for you. And it's a mixed picture for European shares this lunchtime. We've got small gains in London and in Paris. London and in Frankfurt, I should say, just Paris dipping into the red there. Investors looking ahead to today's European Central Bank meeting for any hints that it might have to changes to its pandemic stimulus programme. That's coming up in the next hour's time.
And finally from you, Stephen, Starbucks in the United States is facing shortages as the economy there recovers.
That's right. The coffee chain is actually running out of cups and different flavourings for coffees in some places. The chain has even taken oat milk products off its app as it's running short of that too. Now, Starbucks says these shortages are temporary and vary from place to place, but it's part of a problem that many businesses are facing because of supply chain issues and staff shortages in some cases that have disrupted deliveries as economies reopen and demand recovers. You might wonder, though, what happens when a coffee chain runs out of cups. This worried me greatly when I read it first.
It's a good thing for environmentalists. They can go and take their own coffee cups.
Their own coffee cups, even better. The other alternative that the Wall Street Journal points out is they just put your coffee in a different size cup. So it's not actually that much of a disaster.
That's true, but then you waste...
Exactly. Reusable cups are better.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Stephen Carroll there with the business. Who's going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We're coming up.